Everybody, this is Mike, and once again, I am joined with...
What's up, everybody? This is EP, otherwise known as Eric Payne.
Eric Payne, of course. And this is the Reelblack podcast, and we got a very special episode for you today. With us, the head of McKain Entertainment.
CEO,
as they say, and the star of his latest project. And I'm going to let him say the title, because I got to let this go a little bit longer. Like if we say the title in the first minute,
I just got one question.
if we say this title, we gotta let this go for a minute, or else we're gonna get blocked.
In case you,
no, I'm just teasing.
Tape delay.
Gotta wait 10. Yep, almost
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. What's the name of this movie?
I got one question, Craig Scott. Tim McKain.
That's Craig Scott right here, because I don't know what's going on with Tim. He done froze up. Y'all done said
I didn't freeze up. That was you.
Oh, okay, all right. No, I asked you to tell them the title of the movie.
No, it's you. You're the star.
Oh, Lord.
You're the star.
Look, I'm playing the background. You can reveal it.
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
I got one question.
Can a nigga do Shakespeare?
Oh, that's what's up. The name of the film is called Can a Nigga Do Shakespeare?
Right.
And the answer to that question is no, a nigga can't, but a black man can.
There you go.
That's the film, yeah.
All the world's a stage, and the men and women are merely players. They have their exits and entrances. I wonder, will I be allowed to exit and enter on the proverbial prestigious stage of the international, royal, grand, only the best players perform here, Shakespearean theater? Will I be considered such a man or woman? But before doing so, I have to answer that most perplexing question. It's a question that's never spoken out loud or asked in proper company, of course, but a question nonetheless. Can a nigga do Shakespeare?
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
I love the project. It introduces the world to Craig Scott.
Yes.
It's very, very, very Shakespeare, a character who's lived a very Shakespearean life, and it's revealed in this interview documentary. So, Tim, what can you tell us about the film?
So, the film is about a black revolutionary who decided to, along with his partners, rob white banks, put the money into black banks. That's just a part of the film. But really, I would say the film is really Craig talking about his life, as well as the life of inner city black youth, and like mixing Shakespearean themes. And really what he's trying to do, in my opinion, is a combination of things. I see the film as Craig telling his perspective of Black America, as well as also fighting against those negative stereotypes that we have been, that's been placed on us, and sometimes we place on ourselves. There's a scene in the film, and I don't want to give the film away, but there's a scene in the film that's so powerful because he's like, we are fighting against that conditioned mindset that we have. And there's a powerful scene in the end where Craig is fighting against himself. And ultimately, what's within Craig is what helps him fight the good fight and overcome that conditioned mindset, knowledge of self. That's what this film really is about. It's about understanding who you are as a Black person, despite what the world has taught you, and understanding the true history, the true knowledge of self. And so that's how I see this film. It's a film of courage. It's a film of empowerment. And it's a film of great Shakespearean the acting. I mean, Craig killed it in this film. So that's what I would say the film was about.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. That sounds like a pretty good movie.
That's interesting because your story, Craig, has to be told in that kind of using a Shakespearean technique, because as I'm listening and as you guys are revealing your story to me, I'm like, that in itself will make a dope ass feature. Absolutely. But it has to be told in kind of that I'm losing the word, that not that technique, that genre word that means that, but using that effect, so to speak, for lack of a better term, telling it like that, because if you tell it the way in real life terms, I think it's just because it becomes another story,
right?
Like that,
exactly.
As a
just
telling
another hood novel, yeah.
Exactly. But when you tell it, present it in Shakespearean proportions, you know what I'm saying? Tell it from that perspective, kind of in the abstract way that you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
I mean, because those things are, when we say Shakespearean, your experience is life shattering. It's like you said, Tim, not accepting the parameters that we as a people are presented with, or that they try to present on us in this country. Right. Exactly. There's another reality. There's a Black people's history before slavery. So, a lot of us think, like they said, the history began as slavery. Our history began thousands of years before that. Africa is not even the name of Africa.
That's right.
When you really know history,
Kush, Ethiopia.
Kush, that's right. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And so when you have that knowledge, like you said, of self, then those experiences that we've gone through in the course of our generation and our life, they are Shakespearean. When you look at like our fathers and mothers' generation, Dr. King, that civil rights generation, look at the shit they went through, man. That's Shakespearean proportions. I mean, I mean, so, Mike told me a little bit about your story, but that's what being a man is, and choosing to be a revolutionary. Cats who take certain actions in life. There's something to be said about being a man of action, right or wrong. You watch The Godfather. Them motherfuckers are men of action.
Craig Scott is a man of action. Absolutely.
Speak to that, Craig. I mean, how did you get involved with the film and before we get into the biography, but how did you get involved with the film and working with Tim?
What made the film possible was Tim McKain. I had shared my life story with other brothers who I think sincerely wanted to see a film version of it, but they just didn't, for whatever reason, timing or resources or connections, they just didn't have it. But when I met Tim, matter of fact, I met Tim at the same place where much of the film is shot, which is inside of a fitness gym area. And he was supposed to be the ring announcer for a boxing match. Well, Tim is not a live performer, you know what I'm saying? So, and he had never done that before. So he came on, he tried. He did his thing.
In this corner.
Right.
Exactly.
But as the night progressed, he got a little better. So I told the owner of the establishment, I said, listen, let me, next time you have an event like that, let me be the ring announcer, whatever. So he would end up introducing me to Tim. And me and Tim, man, we just hit it off. And eventually, I told him my life story, and he had an interest in making film. And he was like, man, we got to make a movie. I was like, yeah, let's go. And he had the connections specifically with the director of photography, Tamani Johnson, and these, the three amigos, man. We, three musketeers. We got together and we made it happen. We paid for the location at the gym, which is where most of the interview section takes place. And then we shot the rest of the other scenes around High Point, North Carolina, where I'm presently residing, and we made it happen. But that's how that's just basically how it started. Me meeting
guerrilla
these brothers,
filmmaking,
young
true
brothers.
guerrilla filmmaking.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I feel like you bury the lead with the acting, because I feel like the thing that's most interesting to me is the revolutionary aspect of it. and your connection with Khalid, Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who's got a large presence on our channel. A lot of people like
Khalid.
watching his old speeches.
Right. Exactly.
You know, I mean, what? And you similarly have
exactly. Well, listen, I
Dome.
joke with Tim all the time, and I tell him that Dr. Khalid is going to be my my Malcolm X, like Denzel, you know, for Denzel. One, you know, I've met the brother. I've, you know, had a chance to meet him, work with him, and two, I have a, you know, similar spirit. And I kind of look like the guy with the white nigga.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah,
So
you could do that. You could do that.
Yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to one day, you know.
He struck me as fearless.
Right.
He struck me as fearless. I mean, what I've never met him. You know, what was it about his charisma that attracted you?
He was just very intense. Like this brother was. The very first time I saw him, we were invited to a Nation of Islam meeting for the men, and they sat me in the front row, you know, new guy, whatever, and he comes in with the black fatigues, the black beret, black skin, ball shining. I mean, you know,
right.
So he already has
like a black king, right?
You know what I'm saying? So he's pacing back and forth, you know, talking about defending Minister Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam, and all this thing. But there's one line, and I mentioned it in the film. He hits it. He says, "If they touch a hair on the head of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, we're gonna kill everything white that's in sight that ain't right." Man, he said that. I was like, yeah, sign me up. That's what I'm looking for, right? So he just, you know, he just had that fire. You know what I mean?
Khalid, yes.
And I think that's what, you know, basically that's what I was looking for, a place where I could kind of develop that, express it. Because in other institutions, like, you know, the university setting and all that sort of thing, they weren't open to that, you know, especially coming from black students, whatever. So when I would meet him, you know, a couple other times, he just always was just a very intense type brother, man. His eyes were always alert. You know what I mean? He was on it, and he just had a way of breaking things down and explaining things that were just different. And so that just was, you know, added to his whole persona.
Yeah, Dr. Khalid was a warrior. The brothers, you know, I mean, you know, he inspired that. That's some, as I'm thinking on it now, and I just had to flash my mind some movie shit. That's some Braveheart shit. I mean, he's that dude, right?
Exactly.
I mean, I never got a chance to meet him. I used to hear him, and you know, I did the movie Malcolm X, right? So I was around the brothers and got trained to play one of the FOIs.
Oh wow!
Okay.
So just being aware, and hearing of Dr. Khalid, and hearing him speak, because you know, like you, his voice is so, it rings true, and everything he's saying and the way he's saying it, and the knowledge and just how smart and brilliant he is to break it down. Break it down whatever you want. Start speaking Arabic. About when he went to Mecca, and the Arab brother threw the African sister down, and he grabbed him and said, "Who are you?" And he just broke it. I mean, you know, you know how it is when you hear him.
He was fearless.
Yes, sir. You know,
he was fearless. That's my brother there.
So for those who are just tuning in, we're with Craig Scott, who's the lead subject of the new documentary, Can a Nigger Do Shakespeare?
Can a Nigger Do Shakespeare?
Tim McKain, who is the filmmaker behind it. So, I mean, Tim, what attracted you to the story?
Well, I've always had an interest in black films. You know, there was a film it was a documentary about the Scottsboro 9. I was 13 years old. And it, you know, learning about that story for the first time, I was shocked to discover that this was the first time I ever heard of a story like this. And I was like, yo, I want to make black films that tell the truth, the good and the bad of America. The things that we things that pushed us forward, but also the tragedy as well. And so for a while, I didn't think that I could become a filmmaker. I had this mindset, like what Craig was talking about in the film, of like fighting against that conditioned mind of that doubt. And then I met Tamani Johnson. And Tamani Johnson and me, we made a couple of short films. We did one about Diallo, Ahmad Diallo, who was shot 41 times by police. It was called 41 Shots. We then did a film about the Greensboro Four, where I played Azelle Blair. It was called The Lunch Counter, and that was about 10 to 12 minutes. It was a great short film. And I actually tried to make a short film, but it didn't go through. And I was still set. I love films. I love great black films. I love Turner Classic movies. I'm a film buff. But I was like, man, I want to make films. I just don't know how. And I had the opportunity to make a film about Clarence Henderson, who was a civil rights activist who was a part of the Greensboro Four. On the second day, in the picture, he's the man in the hoodie. And we were going to make a film about, that. I actually wrote the first script, the original script of that movie. And it took a long time for it to get finished. And it actually never did. We're still working on it. And I was like, man, I can do this. I can prove. Let me prove to myself that I can make a film. And when I met Craig Scott, and when I learned his story, and we actually did a podcast together. It was a great podcast about Black issues, about Black history, about Black pride. And the more I learned about Craig's story, the more I was like, man, this is a civil rights activist, just like Clarence, but in a different way. I got to honor my man, Craig Scott. I got to be able to make a film. I got to be able to do something that I love, but also honor a man who I believed, whether you agree right or wrong, he was courageous, he was strong, and I had to make a story about his life. And so I told Craig, I said, look, I got some money saved up. We got to make a story about your life. I don't care about, we don't have this, we don't have that. We got to make a movie about your life. And me, Tamani, and Craig, we sat down. We were, mapping it out for about 2-3 months, and nothing was happening. And I was like, wait a minute, this is previous to what happened with the other film. That's not happening. That ain't happening. We gonna push this film. So I said, look, let's set up something. Let's set up a date. Let's find a location, and let's make this baby work. And it took us about 9 months to make this film. And with the help of Tamani, we also hired a young musician called Beats by JT.
Oh yeah,
15 years old. He made all the music you hear. That was by a 15-year-old kid named Beats by JT.
I like
he is amazing. He
That's
is
what's
great.
up.
And we were able to make this film. And what this film did for me was it broke the conditioned mindset, the fear that I had within my own self that I couldn't do something that I really wanted to do. And so this film, for me, it not only represents honoring Craig Scott and what he did for our people, but also he, in a sense, inspired me to break my own conditioning to make a film. And with this, now I know I can make more films about our stories, about our history, about our people that inspire us, that encourage us, that teach us, that entertain us. That's what I've always been about. And I'm just glad to be here amongst you. Really, Mike, I've been watching your channel for years, and it really is an honor just to be here with you guys.
Thanks,
it really is.
Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for reaching out. So it sounds like you had a big learning curve. Well, Eric, did you have a question?
I was going to say, it's time to nowadays, this generation of film, it's time to flood the zone. You know what I mean? With content about us, this type of content that we're talking about. I'm a little older than you guys. When I was young, man, it wasn't, I'm back in the day when Black people come on TV, everybody call everybody into the room, that type of shit, and the information that we were able to share via the internet nowadays, our Black history, our rich history, our earth-shattering history, right?
Exactly.
Like Roots came on when I was a kid, that was the miniseries. And when people saw that, not only, the slavery issue, but the scope of it, and really gave an insight into the humanity and stuff like that, and told the story. And that's why a lot of these people got problems with CRT nowadays, right? Because sometimes seeing that mirror, some people feel a little bit uncomfortable in the bullshit where they say white kids are going to feel bad. I kind of think, I heard some other people saying you're also going to have white people saying, I'm not going to choose to, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? I saw a brother on Colbert the other day. He broke it down, something similar to that. So, I mean, they want to erase our stories and the stories of America, which are stories of truth. That's why we we got to take it into our own hands. And now the technology is on our side to share the stories, or like people got, my mom was on the radio, WLIB New York, for a long time. And Dr. Yosef Ben Yakin was often a host a guest on her show, and Dr. Van Sertimer, right? Dr. Clark, So these are brothers who used to come through the radio station. WLIB was Black Talk in New York at the time, and 24 hours, focusing on our shit, on our values and our views and our lives, and getting that constant feed or flow of information available to the people. So when they would go out to places and speak certain places, you would have people there with the little video cameras, the old VHS tapes, Mike, that they have and they hold on, that people are now sharing on YouTube with each other. So me in New York, I could share something with brothers and sisters in Cali, and then the one time so-and-so might have been out there in Cali giving a lecture, they could post it up, just like Dr. Khalid from Kane College, Craig, when he was at Kane College that time. Whoever shot that, thank God they had that footage. Because you could see that whole joint, and
they
even
recorded
a lot of the speeches he gave,
Exactly.
Yeah,
a lot of this stuff. That's good.
No, I mean, Eric makes up a great point. Like, the technology didn't exist for this film to exist 15 years ago.
Right. Exactly.
It just went, and then out of North Carolina, of all places.
Listen, that was the I was just released from federal prison in May of 2020. Yeah, May of 2020. I was attempting to go to Florida. I was also told, Atlanta is a good place to go to as far as doing films and acting and all that sort of thing. But as life would have it, I would end up in a place that I'd never heard of before, High Point, North Carolina. The last place I'm thinking that I would actually produce my first film at. But that just goes to show you it's not about where you are, it's about who you are, who you meet, and what you are willing to do, and the lengths that you're willing to go to in order to, make your dream, a reality. So it's not, yeah.
So rewind it back. I mean, you started out as an actor.
Right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I started high school. I went to, I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. So I attended the Baltimore School for the Arts. This is during the time that Tupac, Jada, Josh Charles, a couple other people who are known now in the film business, they were students. And as I say in the film, I taught them everything they know. I was the upperclassman, so they were taking a lot of pointers, what I mean. But I got to work with them, and then I would audition for Boston University's theater program, and there in Boston, that's where my whole radical political life began. And it was too much for the administration, at that time. This is late 80s. So they basically told me one day, brought me in the office, was like, hey, listen, scholarship money isn't there anymore. Sorry, you gotta go. You know what I mean? And I understood what it was about. It wasn't about grades. It wasn't about my, performance or whatever. It was just, I was heavily involved in the divestiture movement at the time when Mandela was in prison in South Africa. So we were protesting against the university itself to divest in the apartheid regime. We were bringing in, revolutionary leaders, Stokely Carmichael, who's Kwame Ture, Bobby Seale. We actually brought in the ANC ambassador to the United States. I mean, we were involved. We were rocking. We're getting into beasts with the, campus police. I mean, it was just, I was too much. It's like, you're doing too much.
What school was this?
Go.
This is a white school, right?
BU.
Oh yeah, Boston University.
Oh yeah.
BU gets the gas face.
You was a revolutionary. What are you, a revolutionary? Ain't nothing but a revolutionary.
I think a lot of us were tuned into that frequency at the time. I mean, Public Enemy was on the come up.
Oh yeah.
Karis One and all that stuff.
X-Clan, all the,
you go as deep as X-Clan, okay.
Oh yeah. I got to meet the sister Isis, who was a part of that group.
Okay.
I would end up giving my daughter that same name. So I was in it, man. I was definitely rocking. So once I got kicked out of BU, I would get back home, and that's where I would discover the Nation of Islam. I had read about the Nation of Islam in Malcolm X's autobiography, but other than that, I didn't know anything about it. So just so happened, once again, life, right up the street from me was the mosque, the Nation of Islam Mosque, right there. I was like, wow, all this time. So I would start visiting there, and that's where the brothers would start, teaching me about the Nation of Islam, and I would eventually join, do the security for Minister Farrakhan when he was touring in most of the southern states. So I got to meet that brother, work with him and his son, and a bunch of whole other high-ranking brothers in the movement. And so that's where I would get my first real formal militant training. Like, I had a militant attitude, but I didn't understand anything about security, formations, the art of war. I didn't know anything about any of that. So this is where I would learn a lot of that. And eventually I would move on from the Nation of Islam, and I would end up gravitating to the tactics and the philosophy of the Black Liberation Army. Now, this is an organization that was a spinoff or splinter, if you will, from the Black Panther Party. If you know, familiar with Assata Shakur and her story, she was a major leader in that in that organization. And one of the tactics that they would use is that they would rob white banks and use that money to finance revolutionary programs, breakfast programs.
You're going way back to the tactics of the 70s and the 60s with you and
exactly.
I'm a little older. I'm a little older than you brothers and whatnot. So I was like a kid around when a lot of that was popping off. Excuse me. So I'm familiar with the history.
Exactly. So we would basically emulate that that tactic and those philosophies. And what we would end up doing is we would spend a lot of the money on producing cultural events, plays. Because in fact, the movie is based on a play that I wrote. It was a one-act play called "Can a Nigger Do Shakespeare?" It started out as a one-man, but I would incorporate another actor, actually a white actor, who I would play off of. And in that play, I was this young, ambitious Black actor who wanted to perform for this very prestigious Shakespearean theater. And I would audition for that theater. But the white guy who was the director of the theater, he was prejudiced. He had certain stereotypes, whatever. So there was always this, these back and forths. So some of the material that you're going to see in the film actually originates from that play. But it was projects like that we would use that bank money to finance, and that way we could say what we wanted to say, how we wanted to say it, and so it gave us the artistic freedom to pretty much express ourselves in the way that we wanted to.
I love it. So, Tim,
bro.
Yes, sir.
Just talk a little bit. Well, I mean, I guess we're chopping it up right now. We're with Craig Scott and Tim McKain of McKain Entertainment Network, and we're building here.
Yes, sir.
On the Reelblack podcast. I'd be remiss before I jump back to you, Tim. Any Tupac stories? Because that's what people are gonna be mad at me.
Gotta give the Tupac story.
I mean, you're talking about high school Tupac, so
right. Yeah, this is high school Tupac. This is before the super thug Tupac. Although even when he was in that,
Wait,
when
he was inspired by the same things that you were, Craig.
Right. I
Black
said
liberation,
before
new Black Panther
Super
Party,
Thug.
all that good stuff.
Exactly. That's
I mean, did you see an inkling of that when he was in tights walking around in the lunchroom?
Okay, hold on. First of all, let me.
Well, you were in
this
tights
terrible.
too.
No. Hold on. Let me dead this terrible rumor, legend. Tupac was never a dance major at the School for the Arts. Let's get that straight. At the time that we were going, you could only major in one subject at a time.
Okay.
He was a theater major. Tupac never wore any tights. Tupac never did any ballet. They never did any of that.
Okay.
Another rumor that I need to clear up. Tupac wasn't the guy doing Shakespeare at the School for the Arts. It was me. But I wasn't famous, so they would give my story to him. Yeah, that's basically what happened. I've never seen Pac perform any Shakespeare while we were in high school at all.
Okay.
But he became famous. So, they say, you know what, this, we did have a guy that was doing it, but we'll say that
part of the lore.
So, yeah, you follow. So there's, there's some legends that they're putting on the brother that, just not there. And wearing tights and dancing around, that's one of them. That was never Pac. But the one story that I have with Pac that's also in the film is about how we got into a fight. Now, I didn't get in a fight with him. What happened was he got into a fight, and basically some brothers were attempting to jump him. And so, being a classmate, underclassman, we basically came to his aid. But if you watch the film, you won't get all of the, the gory details, exciting details.
Money to get Craig.
Yeah.
Craig. Craig, tell them about the story about how you and Tupac would compete about acting. Like you. Yeah. Tell them about that story.
Pac, because like I said, I was an upperclassman. He was a year behind me, and not to toot my own horn, but I was kind of that guy on campus, because I would discover that I actually was very good at acting. It was something that I never thought of doing. And so Pac, kind of looked up to me. So whenever he thought I was with a chick, he tried to get with the chick. I mean, he'd wait until I broke up with her, whatever. So I did a performance, and in the course of the performance, I take my shirt off. So the girls is going kind of crazy in the audience. So now when it comes time to him to perform his scene, he takes his shirt off. But he never rehearses his scene like that. It was never called for. Matter of fact, in his scene, he's talking to his mama. So it just wasn't appropriate. But he heard the cheers.
Oh,
and the he just went crazy. You know what I mean? So it was just real. It was real beautiful to see just how how we would work together and work off of each other. Similar sort of dynamic occurred between me and Jada. We would do a lot of work. Matter of fact, my senior production, she was in it. She was one of the actresses in the play. Which, interestingly enough, the play was a revolutionary play as well, but it was set in a European setting. So this revolutionary theme has kind of been following me throughout my life, even before I would consciously get involved in it. So I definitely enjoyed, and I enjoyed a lot of the conversations that I had with Pac. That's where he would talk to me about Assata Shakur and the Panthers and things like that. At that time, I didn't know nothing about it.
Right.
I'm just listening like any other kid.
Right.
Later on in life, those seeds that Pac planted in those conversations would bloom, and then I would go, oh, this is what Pac was, but this is his family. This is why he's called the Shakur, and all that sort of stuff. And just like I was saying, is that even when he took on that thug persona, he was still kicking that militant pro-black, message as well. You know what I mean? So that was kind of his idea, was to try to draw, the street guys into a more conscious, a way of thinking. So it was a very interesting dichotomy that he was working with as well.
Yeah, that's kind of that fictional kind of theme that they go for in Godfather of Harlem, right? With uniting Malcolm and Bumpy.
Right,
You know,
right,
they where that
exactly.
actually said Bumpy actually has a line. You know, the one of the most more. I'm paraphrasing here, but one of the scarier things is the black gangster and the black political leaders uniting. You know, for
Exactly.
black liberation, and you know, that's exactly when Tim talked about a new way, a new paradigm that we approach our oppression in this country and how we deal with it, right? And what strategic measures we use. I mean, your story is like the movie The Spook Who Sat by the Door, right?
One of my
That
favorite
book,
films.
you know,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, which they, kind of took out of the movies after about a very short time. They
Oh yeah,
snatched it
yeah,
out the
right. They didn't
movies
let
real
that
quick.
play too long,
I
right?
remember it came out, and I wanted to see it before I could see it. It was taken out of the movie theaters back in the day,
Wow,
you
that's deep.
know. So these were like real time responses that black art was producing. The black arts movement, theater movement in New York back in the day. I'm talking about like in the 70s, man, 60s and 70s, with Richard Wesley and Ed Bullins. I'm from Newark. Mary Baraka,
Right.
Leroy Jones. Came out of
Yeah,
there.
man. I had a
You know,
pleasure of meeting that brother.
yeah,
Powerful,
yeah.
man.
So
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
serious lineage.
Well, Tim, talk about your platform and how you use it to help empower us as black folks.
So I started out doing sports interviews, and I was really trying to use these sports athletes and interview them in a way where I'm the student and they're the teacher. So I'm always trying to, find out, what was inside of them that inspired them. So I always wanted the people who listen to my podcast to be inspired by, these athletes pushing through some of the issues that they were dealing with personally, as well as what they were doing in the ring. And then it developed into me having the show called The Conversation with Tim McKain, or where it would be a combination of me interviewing black business leaders, thought leaders, community builders. I even had a show called Black Owned for a little bit, where I interviewed two great poets. One passed away. I can't believe I'm forgetting the brother's name. He's at the artist block. They got him plastered all over the place. Correct. Let me know that I can't believe they're gonna kill me for that. But, he was a great man. Met him. He gave me the opportunity to chop it up with him on my platform. And then a friend and a mentor of mine by the name of Dominic Hand. Dominic Thought. He's got a business. Dominic Thought Fashion. He's also got a class and stuff like that. And so my job really was to interview the local heroes, the people who did the work, the people who inspired others. And that's kind of like what my show became about. It became less about sports because it was always about, for me, how can I inspire people through their stories? And then it developed into more of a political, social, economic type of situation. So that's what it was about. So that's how I would say my stuff kind of inspires. But I'm still developing it. I'm still trying to improve here, and so. But yeah, that's what it's about.
Good. So are we trying to cure racism, or are we just trying to get more economic power?
So great question. What I'm trying to do really is to me, I don't really think it's about necessarily curing racism. What it's about is how can we build and uplift each other. And I think it's really about understanding who we are as a people. And we can, grow and connect and build with everyone. But I also think we need to develop and build within each other. First, we need to grow and understand our power, our greatness. We don't necessarily have to just go outside first. We can build within, and then when we build within, then we can expand out. But I think we need to have a us first mentality, and then we can expand out and build with other people. I don't mind building with other people and growing with other people, but I also believe we need to look at each other and say, you know what? Let's go to this black business first. Let's go to this black restaurant. Let's go to this black barbershop. Let's go to this black university, even though disclaimer, I did go to a UNCG, which is PWI, but I did apply to A&T first. They just didn't accept me.
They should try, bro.
That was my
I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think Eric would as well. For me as a storyteller, I just feel like, there's just too much talent that would otherwise, what happens to a dream deferred, down the line if we didn't create opportunities for it. For these people with the talent. And then secondly, there's so many stories that we need that the mainstream culture is just not interested in telling. So that's why I wanted to have you guys be a part of the podcast, just so more people know about Can a Nigga, oh God, this title.
Can a Nigga Do Shakespeare?
Oh God.
It'll get me in trouble.
I'll say it for you, Mike. Can a nigga do Shakespeare? No, a nigga can't, but a black man can. How about that?
Right.
But you're being provocative with the title. We'll get to the reasons behind the title in a minute, but just to finish my point. No, I mean, mainstream culture is not interested in telling certain stories, and it seems to me that if you look at the pattern, it's stories that can help and heal. So I think just by sharing Craig's story, and it's not a cautionary tale by any means. No. It's just young brother living life and living out what he believes in. And I hope that as Eric says, I hope that more resources come to make this into like a legitimate narrative, because I think the story is I'm sure that's why you wanted to do this, because it's such a captivating life story. But let's get to the title. Why?
Hold on.
Hey, so
okay, that's a little easier.
You can say CANDS.
CANDS. Okay, so I will admit,
CANDS.
Clearly,
if you don't like the title, say the acronym CANDS.
So I will admit that when we were going back and forth with what the title was gonna be, I was a little hesitant.
Keep it real too.
I was a little hesitant. I was like, are we sure we want to call it this? Are we sure? And Craig was like, look, man, stop with all the sucker stuff. Stop with all the sucker stuff. We gonna keep the title until they say, hey, we'll pay you a little. They gotta pay us.
You got to say it like that, huh?
You gotta think.
Make them pay you per letter. Like we'll take the G and the G, and the I, per letter. We'll take those out.
That's right. And so it was. To be honest with you, when Craig was just telling me why he kept the title, why he wanted to keep the title the way it was, it reminded me of like, you know what? We just have to continue to be courageous, because that's what Craig's story to me. It shows true activism. It shows the sacrifice that one must take when they stand for what they believe in. And when you have a story like that, you just got to tell the story to its root. You got to tell. You can't sugarcoat it. You can't try to dress it up. No, you tell the raw truth. And I could not take that away from this man's story. That's the way he wanted to do it. And I said, look, we're doing this 50-50. This is the 50-50 partnership. Craig's got creative control. So I said, you know what? I agree to it. Let Craig do his thing, because he's gonna kill it. He's gonna kill it. So this is that. The whole idea was Craig, but Craig's got a little different perspective. What'd you think about me when I first was hesitant? I was like, I don't know. Like, tell him, like,
I understood it. I understand it's an uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable word. It's a uncomfortable subject, but that's what I do. Has always been my life, was to confront the uncomfortable thing, the ugly thing. And it's a word, unfortunately, in our culture. I wasn't even so much concerned about how people outside of our race use the word. I have an issue with how we use it. And my problem was how too often we use it to be synonymous with being Black. And so this is why I wanted to challenge that. And I wanted to make it clear that this is a word that is describing an individual that doesn't have any good character, doesn't have any intellectual ability, doesn't have any good qualities. And can that sort of person perform what they consider elevated text, which they call, which is a Shakespearean text.
Right.
And so that's why I took the position that no, a nigger can. This thing that was made on plantations, that was made by white supremacists in order to perpetuate, a whole bunch of negativity, that type of individual can't do elevated text. But a black man, the black human beings that were brought over here, the black Africans that were brought over here, the black people who survived and elevated past all of that torture and detriment, black people, yeah, we can do all of it. And that was the reason for me to say, no, I want to keep this title, I want to keep this word, because I want people to have to confront this issue. Because we as black people, too often, we think, we are niggas. And I wanted to challenge that. And I wanted to say, no, we are not niggas. There ain't nothing positive about that. I understand the spin, but nah. Oh, because that was the other thing everybody would keep hitting me with. Well, why don't you use the GA instead of the ER? I would get that all the time. And I would tell them, bro, what the hell is the difference? You know what I'm saying? I understand y'all trying to make it, to be something different, but no, it's it's the same, it's the same thing. But we're gonna keep the ER, the hard ER, the white boy ER, to make it very clear.
Keep the
right,
there. It ain't having the same effect without the
Right.
Exactly. Getting the uncut pure.
That's
exactly. Are you suggesting, sir, that black people start equating themselves with that name? Are you suggesting in the modes of your boy Clarence 13X that the black man is what? God? Or
God.
Would you suggest that, sir?
Exactly. Matter of fact, don't we say that in the movie? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so,
sir.
So because that's the background that I came from, was that the black man was the original man. The black man was the architect and the builder of civilization, all of that. The N-word never was even something that could be used in reference to that. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the reason. But I've talked to I have some friends and associates who are like executives in the television industry and whatever, and they were like, well, could it, what I mean? So I'm accustomed to getting
this is strictly underground at this point.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You know what's crazy though, because me and Craig, we're talking about it. It's like it's funny how everybody will promote nigga content, but this is a film that's positive, but just the title's negative.
Right.
It's like, and the title's negative, so we can't put it up,
right?
Because we got to change it, but then everything you put out is bang bang shoot 'em up. Come on now.
Thank you.
Right.
What's wrong? What's going on with that? That's the issue that I have that Craig has.
That's the okie doke, bro. You know what that is? That's the okie doke. That's the mislead. That's the mislead. That's how they, y'all, you from Baltimore. I'm from, I'm from Newark. Where you from, Tim?
I'm from Durham, North Carolina.
From Newark. Hey, shit. You know what I'm saying? Mike's from Philly, Delaware. Philly, everybody know the okie doke when they see it, man. The mislead.
That was killing, because because like some what's it, Power, BMF, these things are getting major P-Valley, they get major accolades.
Quite a plethora, huh?
You know what I'm saying? But if you just look at the content, I mean, these are just all stereotypes, negative stereotypes, all day, all night. But we don't say N-word in the title. So let's go. So now I say, well, listen, man, here's a film that's dealing with elevated text, dealing with different concepts, it's intellectual, blah, blah, blah. Man, but that title, I'm like, come on, is this the game? This is how we gonna play this? And so that's another reason why I didn't want to, kind of, back up off of that, because let
the chips fall where they may. The people that want to see the film or intrigued by the idea of the film. I mean, NWA was hot for that very same reason.
Exactly.
People were like, "Oh, all right, this is contraband. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to hear this." So,
right.
So when you come, full testosterone and say this is the title, this is my integrity, I've got to respect that. So
when you come with the full black, with the full black man, 100%. They can't stand it. It's too strong. Too black, too strong.
Too black, too strong. Too black, too strong.
That's right.
Oh, goodness. That's
That's
taking
right,
me back.
Man. They can't handle it.
So what has changed in the amount of time between Brother Khalid and now? I mean, not in terms of the world, and then in terms of your mentality, Craig.
Well, that's interesting. I guess if anything has changed with regard to me, and again, we deal with it in the film. When I was younger, I did have an attitude of, if you're not doing it the way I'm doing it, you faking, you ain't really about it, all that sort of thing. But after you learn and you study and you peep history, and then you understand politics and tactics, I begin to understand that every tactic, every approach is necessary. You understand, from the most passive to the most aggressive, because white supremacy is so entrenched in so many different areas that we need to use every tactic, every tool in the toolbox in order to uproot it. So that's the evolution that I've taken. And as far as Khalid, one thing that I find interesting is I think all of the revolutionary and militant leaders have been vindicated by what's going on in the recent past. Let's face it, if those young kids didn't storm out of Douglas High and start tearing up Baltimore City, nobody would be talking about Freddie Gray. If we as a people didn't start tearing shit up after the George Floyd situation, nobody would be talking about police brutality in the manner that they're talking about. You cannot get around the fact that at some point there has to be a pushback, and that pushback inevitably is going to take some form of violence. We can't keep sugarcoating it. That has been the history of mankind from the beginning until now. We live in a country that was founded on violent revolution. That's what they call them. The founding fathers are considered revolutionaries.
Give me liberty or give me death.
You understand? It makes no sense for us now to start talking about revolution as if it's a dirty word. Follow? In your Declaration of Independence, this is what you're talking about. A government can become so tyrannical, can become so unjust that it has to be overthrown. That's in the founding document of this of this country. So we are at least hypocritical when we just have this knee-jerk reaction that if there's ever any violent reaction, it's wrong. No, that's just not so. So a lot of these, I think a lot of these brothers, basically in the philosophies that they were pushing, have been vindicated and have been shown that you're going to need this. This is going to have to be one of those tools in the toolbox.
And that is what I believe. What I've learned over the course of my life, that the nation represents. People need to know that we have a force. And what I admire about the nation is the unity and the move as a team, never move alone. You know what I mean? And the self-sufficiency and the insulary nature of it. Like Tulsa, Oklahoma, they said the black dollar just circulated. We're talking about building black wealth and all the necessary pillars we need to liberate and build our own. And one of them is the finances that need to circulate within our community before they go outside the community, which made them so jealous that they had to come over to our part of town and destroy it because it was superior to where the others were living, right? I mean, it makes sense for the father. Exactly. Don't get me started, man. Shoot, I was going to say, I'll tell you, bro.
Break it down, Eric.
I know who the original man is.
That's why people are tuned in to the Reelblack.
Mother and father of civilization. You know, you're from Baltimore. You know, there's an awareness that comes out of certain areas. You know, knowledge, like you said, Tim, a knowledge of self that people have in certain areas. You know, and certainly Baltimore.
That's interesting. You mentioned the Tulsa history, because out of that history, we have to learn that. And interesting, Minister Louis Farrakhan made this point. He said, if you're going to build a business, you got to have an army. And no matter how many times we try to get around this principle, the outside forces show you're not going to get around it.
Right.
Because we have to deal with this reality. The economic prosperity that the Western world is enjoying is based on their military prowess. That's how they came up, bro. They didn't come up just because they, just had a great business idea. No, brother. 85% of the business that they've been doing around the world was after they invaded, after they blew the place up, after they killed the leader, after they carried out military and paramilitary actions against those people. So, along with the economics, we have to have some kind of military or paramilitary preparation for what we know inevitably is going to come, because that jealousy is still there. I mean, come on, man. That's this. So this is why I oftentimes I take issue with the brothers who we just need economics. Okay, we do need economics,
right? And
when you get that economics, how are you going to protect it?
Exactly.
So once again, we need all of the tools in the box. There is no one single thing that we just get this and that's. No, it's going to take a plethora of approaches and tactics and things in order for us to see the success that we would like to see.
To be a nation, because the nation that we're supposed to be a part of rejects us. So, like the nation teaches that sometimes we have to build our own and be with our own, that whole separatist perspective that the messenger had and was promoting a little bit. Sometimes you think about that, some of the most devastating things to our community might have been integration in certain circumstances. I mean, the might have been, when the schools were segregated, shouldn't have been like that, but at least Black kids were getting taught by Black teachers who were making sure they learned. And the whole twisting of integration and school integration of people thinking that we just wanted our kids to sit next to your kids just because nobody cared about that. It's because they knew, the leaders at the time knew that you had the best resources. And they knew that if their kids, us that were of that age, were sitting next to your kids at that time, and we would at least have a shot of using the best or having exposure to the best resources, because y'all weren't going to shortchange your own children. That was the strategy. But people, they go out putting this, like, have the nerve to think about, we want to be around them just to be around you because you envision yourself to be God or whatever kind of crazy shit you done told yourself because you're jealous and have inferiority complex when you see the original man step into the room. You know the feeling.
You know the feeling.
How they get, man, come on.
No, you bring up a point.
I was in Malcolm X, bro.
You bring up a point, the integration.
We went, they gave us a FOI boot camp from Malcolm X to play one of the FOIs. Brother Wayne, the Muhammad family, Brother Wayne Muhammad, Brother Anthony Muhammad, and their brother Chris. They were out of New York, and they had a pretty large family in the nation at the time. And Brother Anthony Muhammad is out in Chicago now. He's been out there for a long time. He's like high up in the FOIs with the minister. But I'm from Newark, so certainly aware of the nation. Been around brothers like that. But to also get the knowledge just a little bit, of the training, to just get a little taste of what it is like.
No, it gets tricky for sure. You talk about integration and affirmative action in a way. I was of the generation that was bused to white schools.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I was of the generation that benefited from affirmative action. I was a Martin Luther King scholar at NYU. And when I look back in terms of the time, and that scholarship was designed just to bring more Black kids into that environment. So I go to my old public school that I was bused to, and when I can look at the photos, actually, I don't even need to go back there. But from kindergarten, you know, it's like maybe 3, 4 of us. By 8th grade, all the white kids had moved out.
And it happened. Y'all caused the white flight to happen.
We caused the white flight. I mean, we still got our education, but I mean, and then now the MLK scholarship, it's a diversity scholarship now. It's not just for it's not just for Black kids that are
for everybody
Black. It's for anybody who's not white. You know, can get this scholarship, and so I see the tricks as they get played over time, you know, and I also, what's great about the channel, we have these records, you know, these tapes, like you said, of different people speaking over periods of time about the same condition, you know, and how little has changed and how much has changed. Really, it's not how much has changed, it's how much has been forgotten.
So that's the truth.
So
that is the truth.
You know, we have to value films like yours because you're speaking from, you know, direct experience about those things. But you know, I'm just curious. It ebbs and flows. It goes in cycles. But why? And you know, you paid the price. You ended up in prison,
right?
For your actions. What happened that last wave, that 80s, 90s wave, do you think? Where it didn't maintain itself. It had to go underground a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, Joe Biden and Bill Clinton did a hell of a job, man.
With the crime bill?
The crime bill. See, I'm pretty sure you guys remember. There was a time dealing with the Democratic Party where it was kind of like this unspoken thing that there was at least some sort of soft alliance between Black militants and the Democratic Party. Well, Bill Clinton busted all of that up. When he publicly condemned Sister Soldier, brought her out, called her everything but the child of God. All the woman said was, "We are at war." Never said anything that was untruthful or anything like that. And at that point, what people don't understand is that crime bill not only targeted brothers who were, you know, selling drugs or committing crime, but it was also used to target Black militants. And his public condemnation of Sister Soldier was that signal that the laws were going to be used, you know, like that. The reality is, if myself and, you know, the partners that I was operating with, if we weren't politically involved, if we weren't using that money to push a political agenda, they wouldn't have sentenced us the way that we got sentenced. Because at the prosecutor had the discretion of, you know, applying certain laws or not. But once it was clear that we stood for a certain political agenda, he opted to go for the most draconian sentence that he could come up with.
Right.
So that whole time period, the community was being gutted of just men in general, but also specifically Black men who were conscious, Black men who were militant. So now you remove those men from the community for 10 years, 20 years. This is what you're going to get.
As a result of what's happening.
And they knew that. They understood that. See, when they saw us walking around with the dashikis and the leather, they were little cheap leather medallions with the African symbol, the Nefertiti outlines, and we were talking about, you know, pro-Black, and the songs were pro-Black, and even the people who weren't militant, they were, you know, at least speaking about something positive. The white power structure understood that this was a threat to white supremacy. They understood this was a threat to white supremacy, even though it wasn't militant.
Right.
But because it was positive and it was pro-Black, they saw it as a threat. So how do we come against this without us directly saying this is what we want to come against? Okay, here we go. Crime. We want to fight crime. And so this was the guise, this was the wolf in sheep's clothing that was used in order to destroy that whole, you know, that whole movement. So that's my opinion about why that or how that turn was able to be made. Until now, there's almost no consciousness in music now. There's almost no talk of militancy out of any activists now.
Yeah.
It's
got songs like Throat Baby. We got songs like Throat Baby.
Well, I mean, it started with the NWA. NWA, they were down, they were talking about stuff in the street. But, when it took the turn to gangster rap, all of a sudden, all of that positivity in terms of the music, although some of it was, you had Chuck and them, right? Public Enemy comes out and it's militant. It's militant and positive social and political militancy. You have NWA come out and it's militant in a respect that it's interactions with the police that young brothers and sisters experience, but it's also militant in the fact that some of them cats was thugs, is running gang life, so you're promoting that to a certain degree too.
Right.
True.
And under the guise of, being rebels a little bit. And that's where I'm in agreement with you that it gets off a track even more, because they attack us now with the culture, with the music and stuff.
It's crazy.
The music that was so positive during that time you're talking about, that heyday where everybody was wearing everything and was aware and was expressing our dress and everything that where everybody was talking, and was around that time period when we also took over MTV. You know what I'm saying? When Yo took over MTV, and so now their kids are listening to it, and this music is they listening to Public Enemy and then listening to that, and they're getting enlightened a little bit about what these black kids are rapping about. And the elders don't like that, because all of a sudden we changing the script on them,
but we always were. They always look when it comes to popular media, they've always watched black entertainers. They've always, they've always taken from Elvis to all of them. The king of rock and roll, the person who founded rock and roll was Chuck Berry. Nobody talks about.
Nobody.
You know what I mean?
So therefore, that must tell us I am the original human, the original man. If you are so obsessed with me, if my very presence makes you hate and emulate me at the same time, I must be the original man. Surely I must be the image of God. If you tripping like that, and then you done wrote about it in a book, or you'll go over to the Pope and see the oldest popes in Europe praying to the Black Madonna, And don't let Dr. Ben get started on, because he'll break it all down and break everybody's heart about that, right?
No,
but that's the reason why me and Tim were really adamant on producing this film, because we wanted to sort of get back to that spirit of film and art being used to elevate the consciousness of the people, black, white, whoever, because anyone watching this film, they're going to learn, they're going to understand, they're going to see the thug ex-con in a different light that they would have never, seen them, both black and white, because even our people have some stereotypes about brothers who've been to prison and all that sort of stuff. And so that was the common spirit that me and Tim had. Like, Tim was absolutely committed to uplifting the community, doing something positive. And this film and films like this are the type of things, this type of work that we wanted to produce.
Check out our film Drop Squad. Producing my partners and stuff like that.
Oh man, so ho, you talking about the old joint, Drop Squad? Y'all did that?
I was a social producer. My partners with Drop Squad.
Get out of here.
Wait,
I didn't know that.
Wait,
I'm very familiar.
Whoa.
With that. Listen, that's up there with Step Out the Door, baby.
It turned out that way. It ended up being something like that.
That was a good film. I really enjoyed that film.
That was a powerful joint. But that's one of those type of films.
Right.
It's art, it's entertainment, but it's designed in order to, to elevate you, make you think.
And I liked how that film it had that, that generational versus generational battle. I thought that was very interesting how like the older generation, they had like this connection to everyone and they wanted to save everyone, but then the newer generation, they were more like, we're gonna beat somebody's brains out. I thought that was very
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they just
right.
sit down in people's houses and they would just talk to you.
Right,
and they just and then next generation they gonna take you, they gonna wrap you up. I'm like,
right, what's wrong with you? You know,
that was a great film. I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it worked out. It's a little cult classic. You gotta have the mind frame for it. But most people get it. So, people that come to see it.
So see, that's what I said. No such thing as coincidences. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
That you two brothers, you would be involved in making a film like The Drop Squad, and then we would be here, me and Tim, with the sort of film that I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, man.
You can't beat that.
That's what I'm saying. It's the
legacy.
legacy.
Well, we're trying to elevate minds and raise consciousness with the time that we share. Time is limited for everybody. Everybody has so much that they can do with their time, but if you've been checking us out for this hour, we really appreciate it. And in terms of where people can see the film, what's the strategy now? You got this title, you got this underground classic in the making. Now that we've enticed people, where can they see the film? What's the hook up there?
The strategy, we at present we are presenting it to Dame Dash Studios. He has an arrangement with Tubi, the streaming service, and we're hoping that Dame Dash will accept the film and will place it on his under his studio production on the streaming service called Tubi.
Okay, so we can lobby Dame Dash. He's on Instagram.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea. Dame Dash Studios, hey, please, share it with the world. And he's a good outlet for you guys. I think
he's a very good outlet.
He does a lot of underground Black content as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Plus, I think we'll be bringing something to him kind of unique from what he's accustomed to to showing, and I think that will help even put him in a different light as well. So I think it'll be a good synergy for us to
I hope it works out. I mean, we're trying not to blow the lid off of it, but if people can write to Dame Dash and say like, look, hey, can you put your foot on the gas? And A Nigger Do Shakespeare is the movie we want to see this next quarter.
Tell them,
I want to see. Man, you got a lot of pull, Mike. I think, you call them up. Hey, listen, man.
If everybody watches, goes on Instagram, and what's the
Reelblack.
Follow me.
We can start a little campaign.
Yeah.
So if you go onto Dame's Instagram, I'm not saying spam him, but
spam him too. I don't mind.
Well, no, we don't need the heat from Dame. I don't need him because it's reciprocal. He'll start throwing his stuff on my page.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But if you make it known to Dame and Dash Studios, not Dame Dash, not Dusko Poppington, but Dame Dash Studios, whoever the executives are over there, that you want to see at CANDS.
Absolutely.
Right, that's the acronym for A Nigger Do Shakespeare. We'll be that much closer to getting that movie out into the world. So,
man, I really appreciate it.
Yes, Mike, Eric, thank you very much. It was an honor and a privilege. This is the best network for Black thought, for Black movies. I'm telling you, I always, every time I watch your platform, I'm inspired, I'm entertained, and I'm educated. And so it's certainly, I honestly think that, your platform needs to be even bigger than what it is right now. I mean, the work that you put in, Mike.
Well, we're battling our own form of white supremacy. People got wind. They got wind.
You're a victim of your own success.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Look, until we claim the sand and we build our own sandboxes, we'll always be subject to those kind of things. So that's what I love about what Damon Dash has done with when he got his wake up call, and we're all subject to wake up calls. When he got his wake up call, he said, "Look, I'm this is my sand, this is my sandbox, and I'm going to invite who I want to invite to be a part of it." So and we're trying to do the same thing at this point.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, if you haven't already bought a hat, get a hat.
Oh
If
yeah.
you haven't already
yeah,
subscribed
definitely.
to Reelblack 2, which pays my phone bill.
Reelblack.
Reelblack 2 pays my phone bill. So that's the last thing you want is to have your phone off. Subscribe to Reelblack 2, watch all the content up on that. And then also Eric's got his Freedom Fighter. Where can people find you, Eric?
I'm on IG, Eric Payne _ Freedom Fighter. And we also got Off the Beaten Path on YouTube, where it's our little show my sister Lisa's producing. And what I got coming up, Raising Canaan in the new season, did an episode of that.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
Need some people to visit my IMDb so I get my star meter up a little bit,
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Gotta get the star meters up, bro.
One last thing, I gotta promote my sister's business. She's Palantini's. Palantini's. I'm not sure if you can see.
Okay, raise it up above the logo. Yeah, there you go.
Hold on, let me get up. Palantini's.
Oh yeah, that's
Palantini's.
Well, I ain't got the muscles.
What is that? What is that business?
So she's got a wine tasting business. So black owned, woman owned, minority business.
Nice.
She's killing it. I gotta support black business. She's doing her thing.
Absolutely.
But it's Palantini's Wine Service. Hold on, let me do it right here.
That's a great name too.
Yes, sir. Palantini's.
Okay.
So
we'll put it in the description. Make sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So follow CANS and McKain Entertainment Network. Yes, please do. Please do. Thank you so much, Mike and Eric.
You're welcome. And Craig, final thoughts.
Oh man, listen, I can't thank y'all enough for this opportunity. Y'all didn't have to do this at all, and I really, 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 really appreciate it. So that's all I can do. Just thank you. Yeah.
No, I think it's. We all agree. This is a great conversation, and it's a good build. So yeah, please look out for this film. Can a Nigger Do Shakespeare?
And thank you for your service, black man. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you,
Black warrior. Thank you for your service.